All right, friends, we are recording. Welcome back to another video in the KRATOM series. My name is Adam. I go by Coach Hardgains with a Z because that is the name of my coaching platform. I've been coaching bodybuilders and recovering addicts for well over 20 years. I've devised a systematic approach that has worked for so many people to replace their DOC, their drug of choice, with an addiction to dopamine. An addiction to goal-oriented fitness, goal-oriented training, goal-oriented bodybuilding. It doesn't mean it's just for meathead bodybuilders, it's for everyone, and it works. So I hope that you have tuned into some of our earlier videos. This series is going really well. There's a lot of great feedback in the KRATOM community, and I love hearing from all of you. Let me address one thing first. Many of you have now already found out we are accepting new consultations, and I've been slammed. So this is a blessing. This is a good thing. I'm adjusting my calendar. We'll have the new website up and running. But for now, consultations are available. You can email us at coachhardgains@gmail.com. My assistant will get back to you, get some information from you, and then work on getting you right on the books. You'll be able to choose your date, your time slot, your duration. You'll be able to choose what that topic is. Many of you don't know on this channel, but I also consult on entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 14. I've always started, run, and operated my own businesses. I've been developing logos and brands since I was about 18. Most of my companies have been award-winning, and I'll show you a few of them here. These are all companies that have won local and national awards. I've even won awards through Angie's List and Home Advisor. We were top rated in our services here. And many of those companies never saw red. They never lost money, they only saw green. And although I take great pride in my accomplishments of doing that, I take even greater pride in advising others on how to do the same so that you can support your family with 6 figures the first year. I know that sounded like an infomercial, and it actually pisses me off that it does. But the reality is, guys, there's systems that I have implemented throughout my life that have worked in my coaching, that have worked in my businesses, and that have worked in fatherhood, in parenting. Systems work. And so when you're going crazy trying to figure out, like, what do I do with this part of my life? The most successful way to approach something is to develop the best system. And that leads to today's topic, which is a very, very highly requested topic, which is KRATOM and anxiety. So stay tuned because we're going to get right into it. And I want to invite you to stick around to the end, especially because there will be some really good information at the end. Now, there are 2 aspects to the topic of KRATOM and anxiety. Number 1, KRATOM for the use of battling anxiety, and KRATOM-induced anxiety. If you've been following along in my videos, you know that I mention every time that number 1, hashtag KRATOM saves lives, and I will be an advocate for KRATOM forever. But I am more of an advocate for truth and transparency, and that is why I make these videos, so that all of you have the truth and transparent full picture of KRATOM so that you can make the decision of KRATOM's use in your life. Now, as many of you know, I also talk about the difference between KRATOM usage up to 5 years and KRATOM usage beyond 5 years. That is a significant difference. And frankly, no offense to any of you, but I don't really need to hear anybody's feedback until they've gone beyond 5 years. I'm not interested in it because I know that up to 5 years, it's typically almost 100% all positive. KRATOM is the most amazing thing. KRATOM has saved my life. KRATOM has changed my life. KRATOM got me out of bed. KRATOM got me back to work. KRATOM got me with my kid. Yes, 100%. All of those are true. KRATOM did that for me. Absolutely. KRATOM replaced my medications, my pain medications, my SSRI, my SNRI, my benzo addiction. KRATOM replaced my alcohol addiction. Yes. All of these things are true. Until the 5-year point. This is what I need to hit home with you. If you've been taking KRATOM daily, especially in high doses, 5 years and beyond is an entirely different situation. An entirely different set of experiences and circumstances. I mean, you will literally, your experience with KRATOM up to 5 years is going to be entirely different than beyond 5 years. I've been a daily user of KRATOM for over 8 years. I have some clients that have been on KRATOM for over 12, over 15 years. they are the ones living in hell. They are the ones that it is a nightmare and they can't get off. They are the ones that Kratom has now ruined their life, their body, their hormones, their hair, their thyroid, their gut. You name it, and Kratom has ruined it for some of these clients, okay? Now again, we always talk about being smart with your usage, okay? Kratom isn't something that you're supposed to be taking 80 grams a day every day for years. But Kratom is perfect for getting you off of your drug of choice, getting you off of heroin, getting you off of meth, getting you off of Suboxone, getting you off of alcohol, getting you off of weed, getting you off of pills, getting you off of narcs. It is amazing and perfect for getting you off of fill in the blank. But then you got to get off Kratom. And if you've been abusing Kratom for too long, getting off Kratom is going to be even worse, because the majority of people that I talk to have all said the same thing. Kratom withdrawal is the worst withdrawal experience they've ever had. Now, some of those people have had worse withdrawal with benzos, benzodiazepines. Others, Kratom is still worse. Kratom withdrawal has been worse than their benzo withdrawal, than their heroin withdrawal. Because Kratom gets into the central nervous system in different ways, but that's a separate video. I've made other videos on that. Kratom and anxiety. Many people go to Kratom to fight their anxiety, to fight their depression, to fight their panic, to fight their antisocial disorders, okay? And Kratom works wonders in the beginning. But if you want that to last, you can't take it every day. I have always utilized Kratom for pain management. For me, I have a host of major injuries. I have a severe TBI from getting cracked in the skull by my dump truck. I have a brain injury, cracked my skull, bruised my brain. I have severe spinal degeneration. I have a spinal fusion. I have so much nerve damage throughout my entire body. I was in a recent car accident. My neck all the way down my spine, down my right leg, down my right arm is always on fire. I now have a tremor. I walk with a cane. I mean, I am in so much pain every day. I mean, I couldn't live without pain mitigation, without pain management. I couldn't go through it. With pain management, I am still in so much pain. And that is why I've had to learn to cycle through different pain management options, okay? But that's going to be another video, pain management options. So drop a line in the comment section if that's something you're interested in hearing about. Kratom and anxiety. Okay. Now, I have a lot of clients that have tried to, attempted to, or started to replace their SSRI, their SNRI, with Kratom. And that worked well in the beginning. And then suddenly, Kratom usage began causing anxiety. And I've experienced this myself. I can't take whites and greens anymore. Even though reds are very strong, for whatever reason it is, the alkaloids and the whites and the greens causes me anxiety. Literally, if I take too much, it will put me into the feelings of a panic attack. I have to be very careful with my usage. Because if I take too much, and I used to take 1 tablespoon every 2 hours, okay, before my spinal fusion. Obviously, that's entirely too much, but that kept me off of pain pills, kept me off of high doses of caffeine. It allowed me to finish working. I had to remodel my Victorian home all by myself to get ready for my spinal fusion. So then I had my spinal fusion, and then I cut back on my Kratom usage. I went to 1 tablespoon 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, night. And I had maintained that for quite a while, but then still maintaining that started to cause anxiety, started to cause panic at night especially. Now here's a very simple approach to it. Kratom affects the opioid receptors in the body, okay? That's why it's psychoactive. That's why we get that good opioid feeling. But it's not an opioid and it's not an opiate. And we're going to argue on this forever. Go watch my video here. It's not, okay? If anything, it's an opioid agonist. But there's so much more to it that you need to understand from a pharmacological aspect. Just because something has an effect, that does not give it its classification, okay? But that's not the point of this. Kratom attaches to the opioid receptors. But if you never give yourself a break to refresh those opioid receptors, for them to clean out, it's a compounding effect. You keep saturating these opioid receptors over and over and over, and then the brain goes into self-preservation mode. The brain says, this person's going to kill me with oversaturation. I'm going to start deleting opioid receptors so they can't use as many. So then there's less opioid receptors. There's less of a good feeling. We take more, but we feel worse. See what I'm saying? And then now we have to add in something called neurotransmitter effect. Those are things like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. These get affected anytime we take something that hits the opioid receptors. That's why we feel so good. Let's say we take a big dose of kratom, okay? Blast the opioid receptors. We feel full. We feel good. We're up on a high. Our dopamine is up. Our serotonin is up. We're feeling good. But all of a sudden it's wearing off. All of a sudden we're starting to feel this crash and we're going down, 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 down. Well, dopamine levels drop. Serotonin levels drop. And if you are on an SSRI or SNRI medication, it's keeping your serotonin levels up. So there's no reuptake, okay? So that means that if you're on a roller coaster, your serotonin's not getting off and going to another ride. The serotonin's staying on the roller coaster and going back up. They're like, let's stay up, okay? Which, by the way, can lead to something called serotonin syndrome, which can be very dangerous for some people. Well, anybody, depending on the level. But then you take another dose of your drug of choice. You take another dose of your oxy, or of your Dilaudid, or of your heroin, or of your meth, or of your kratom. And remember, buprenorphine and Suboxone is very different. They operate in a different manner. We're going to have another video separately on those soon. But then here's a danger, guys. Let's say you're also on your Zoloft, or your Cymbalta, or your Buspar. Let's say you're also on one of these other operating mechanisms that affects your neurotransmitter function, your serotonin, etc. And you're also blasting it back with kratom. Oversaturation can lead to an increase of the fight or flight, which will just blast you with anxiety. You guys know what I'm talking about? That feeling where it just comes on and you're like, what the F? And you feel like you're gonna panic. You're gonna freak out. This is horrible. This is a horrific feeling. Horrific feeling. I was getting that so bad from kratom dosages that I had to cut my kratom in about a quarter. I'm currently taking 1 teaspoon of kratom 3 to 4 times a day. Just 1 teaspoon. It doesn't manage my pain as well, so I'm also taking Celebrex, which is an anti-inflammatory. I take low doses of oxy, and I take something called Nucynta, which is an extended release opioid. It's not something that you feel, but I have to manage my pain or I just can't function throughout the day. But there are different methods for us to use. Back to kratom and the anxiety effect. Once you've been abusing kratom for so long, your neurotransmitter function is completely abnormal. Your body is not producing dopamine on its own. Your body is not responding serotonergically properly. Everything is now a mess. And you're still taking your kratom, and you're feeling the anxiety, and you're like, I feel like garbage, but I can't stop. So we've talked about different ways to stop with gabapentin. There are ways for you to cut back, and you've got to cut back. You've got to take a break. But I know that that's scary for many of you because I know that kratom is either your main or your only source of pain mitigation. Now again, going back to the time frame of utilizing kratom. I never really had anxiety. I never really had depression or anything like that. That really wasn't a part of anything I struggled with. But I started getting anxiety around the 5-year point. And I certainly did not attribute that to kratom usage. I thought it must have been my life. That was the first time I had separated from my now ex-wife, and I was really worried about my kids, and I was going through a lot. So kratom started to affect me differently, but I didn't attribute those changes to kratom. So I tried other things. But come to find out about 1.5 years later, it was definitely the kratom. It was definitely kratom usage. Now, beyond the 5-year point, everyone that I talk to gets kind of like a PM anxiety. If they've taken kratom all day, by the end of the night or by the end of the day, their last dose of kratom has a tendency to give them anxious feelings. Meaning, a lot of people are reporting that they take the kratom, okay, it gives you the high, it still kind of fills your receptors, lifts your dopamine, lifts your serotonin, but coming down is when the anxiety hits. That come off, okay, is when you start feeling anxiousness. Guys, the problem is the only solution is you have to cut back on your kratom. You have to, because I'm going to tell you right now from personal experience, when I cut back on kratom significantly, the anxiety went away. It just went away. I didn't have it anymore. Now that's for me because I don't deal with anxiety or depression on a normal basis. That's not to say that I'm any better, different, or worse than anybody else, but that's just not specifically something I have struggled with. Now, many of you have also come to me and said that now that you're having such a hard time with kratom, you feel like you need to get back on an SSRI, back on an SNRI. Here's the danger. Please do not take your SSRI or SNRI with daily usage of kratom. And please do not drink alcohol at the same time. That is a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for just getting so fucked up, mentally and emotionally. Now again, we talk about some of the natural alternatives. 5-HTP, tryptophan, GABA, tyrosine, lysine, amino acids, lots of vitamin C. I take 3 grams of vitamin C every single day. If I ever feel anything coming on, like I feel like I'm a little like worn down and I might get sick, I take 5 grams of vitamin C every day. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. That is just what I do and it works for me. And I haven't been sick in forever, even despite the C-vid pandemic. I wish that I could say to you that the answer was something other than you've got to get off kratom. If you're experiencing this anxiety, I was getting to the point where I couldn't even take a full breath in my chest. I was always so tight, so anxious, and I'm currently going through the worst experience of my life, in addition to all of the physical pains. I'm going through the worst mental and emotional anguish of my entire life that I will ever go through, because it has to do with my kids. And so on top of all the physical pains, I'm dealing with the mental anguish. And I couldn't even breathe through my chest. And I meditate daily, pray daily, do yoga, I train hard. You guys know me well enough by now, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't take a full breath. And my blood pressure, my blood pressure was through the roof, guys. I suggest that all of you get a blood pressure cuff. You can get one cheaply on Amazon. Here's the one I have right here. I think it's pretty accurate, but my blood pressure was through the roof all the time, and that's bad. That's bad, especially for someone like me with a brain injury. That could lead to a stroke, and that one stroke could kill me. You know, a heart attack. Now, most of you already know I always talk about harm reduction, right? Kratom is one of the best options for reducing the harm of the substances you are consuming. Kratom is the best option out of all of the ones we talk about. I'd rather you be on kratom than on heroin. I'd rather be on kratom than on meth. I'd rather you be on kratom than slamming 80 to 100 mgs of oxy 5 times a day. I mean, again, kratom's a plant. It comes with a host of problems if you use it incorrectly, if you don't respect it, if you abuse it. But all you got to do is respect it, use it properly, and take your breaks. And kratom is nothing but a blessing. Nothing but a blessing. But once you use it the wrong way, once you disrespect it, once you abuse it, once you use it with the wrong things, once you're conjoining it with a bunch of other things that are not going to play well with kratom, things are going to get really bad really fast. All right? So guys and gals, I hope that answers some of your questions. I hope that encourages some of you out there who have reached out to me to take your breaks, to back off, to quit, to find other means of pain management, other methods, okay? There are other things out there. Remember, send an email to coachhardgains@gmail.com. We are very busy, and this is a great thing. This is a blessing. And remember, please subscribe to Healing Together and Coach Hardgains with a Z. Find me on Instagram at Coach Hardgains. But I do want to let you know that I've been getting so many messages, hundreds and thousands of messages at this point, to my DMs, to Instagram especially, the comments on YouTube, that I don't get a chance to give those much attention. I apologize. I wish I could. But the blessing of this channel growing is that I just can't devote the attention to some of the other aspects of it. But our priority at Healing Together and Coach Hard Gains are the consultations. That is what I mainly focus on. That is what I do, whether it's one-on-one in person or one-on-one in Zoom, or whether it's a group chat. I also advise many people around the world on building your brands, building your logo, on entrepreneurship, and just on creating the best version of yourself. So friends, thanks again for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Stay tuned to the next one.